Today on Adjusting, we are continuing our Season 3 Part 2 series of What If It Actually Works Out from Fear to Faith. And today's episode is Adjusting Your Expectations. We're going to talk about some terms like toxic positivity, possibility reframing, cognitive reappraisal, and sitting with the fact that both fear and faith can coexist in the same space. You just have to deal with the fear first. So I hope you have space today for this. And make sure you share this episode with someone who could really use some adjusting. So sit back, relax, and welcome to Adjusting.
And we're back with another episode of Adjusting Podcast with your host, Justin G. Nelson. And we have one more episode left in this part 2 series of Adjusting from Fear to Faith, imagining what if it really works out. And I'm really hoping you all are taking this information. Now, today's episode, we are talking more about this series with the topic of adjusting your expectations. I love it. What if it all works out? But before we begin, thank you to TJ from Tea with TJ Podcast for editing. Thank you all for subscribing to my Substack channel and to the YouTube channel. We hit a milestone. We hit 50 episodes. So kudos to you. Thank you for supporting. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for downloading. Just thank you for being here. And thank yourself for doing the work, because I know this is not easy. Let's get started with our grounding exercise. If you're new here, we do a 4-7-8 breathing method just to help us lock in and remove anything that might be blocking us from receiving some good information. In a way, we're resetting our nervous system. All right. So if you're driving, focus on the road. If you're not, and you are in a place where you can breathe for a second, I invite you to do so now. So relax your feet flat on the ground. Close your eyes. Relax your ankles, relax your shins, relax your knees, relax your thighs, relax your hips, relax your stomach, relax your chest, relax your shoulders, roll them back, relax your neck, your chin, your cheeks, your forehead. Close your eyes. And breathe in for 4, hold for 7, and release for 8. Let's begin. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, hold it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let it all out. Let it all out. Y'all, it's hot in my studio. So bear with me as I sweat throughout this episode. We're going to do one more deep breath in and out just to get anything else out that might be hindering you. So let's breathe in and out. Great. All right. So I'm working on reworking the structure of the episode, because I know it can be redundant and repetitive when it comes to like how something shows up in your body, because we've said it, like your shoulders, your chest, your stomach, like those are the things. So today's episode will be slightly different. Let me know in the comments if you like it. If not, just keep it to yourself. We positive things only. Great. All right. So today we're talking about adjusting your expectations. What if it all works out? Now, we're going to start by addressing the issue. So today we're going to talk about a few terms. There'll be a lot of terms, so get your notebooks and get the things ready. We're going to start by talking about possibility thinking. Now, this is not toxic positivity. I just want to clear that out. We do possibility thinking more than we know, but I love learning, and I love how everything has a name. Okay, so toxic positivity says I'm just just think happy thoughts and dismiss the very true, real pain or whatever is lying underneath. Possibility thinking says, yes, and yes, this is hard, and there might be still a version of this that works. It doesn't erase fear, but it makes room for something else to exist alongside of it. Think of it as there's a video trend if you're on TikTok or something. There's a video trend when a customer comes in and asks for they in customer service, people like to ask stupid questions. And I know there's no such thing as a bad question or a dumb question or a stupid question, but I think there is. There is. And when, say, for instance, you go into Burger King and you come in and say, hi, can I get a burger? And it's like, what else would you get there? I know they sell chicken, but like, what else would you get there? But the trend on TikTok is they would come in and they would say something like, hi, yeah, I would like to place an order for 7 Whoppers, 6 orders of fries, 5 apple pies, and da 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 da. And that one coworker makes a face like, so they take a piece of paper with a smiley face and they stick it on top of it. That's kind of what toxic positivity does. Like, you're frustrated, but you're gonna pop a smile on in the midst of the chaos. It's like slapping a smiley face sticker on top of a cracked wall. Possibility thinking actually looks at the crack, acknowledges the crack, acknowledges it's there, and then decides whether to repair it or tear down the whole wall and start fresh. It's looking at the big picture and not just the damaged area. Okay? That's possibility thinking. It's something I call honoring the moment and then deciding what to do. Like, we sometimes react out of anger or fear or rage or disgust, but like possibility thinking is just like, you know what? Let me see the whole picture. Let me step back and decide there are other ways to handle this situation. Okay. So it is a deliberate cognitive and emotional practice. Now, the clinical term, we talked about this before. No, this is new. This is cognitive reappraisal, according to Google, okay, because I had to do some research. It's a psychological emotional regulation strategy that involves rethinking an emotional stimulus to alter its personal meaning and reduce its negative impact. Again, this is kind of like a reframe, a cognitive reframe. So this goes back to being able to tap into that prefrontal cortex, that part of your brain, like the amygdala, your thought process area of it all. And you find a very healthy way to reset things. It's something we do more. It's something you do more and more on your healing journey instead of reacting like you say there's an old version and like old me would have did this new you uses the cognitive reappraisal and you're able to go, you know what, I'm going to react in a healthy way. I'm going to respond in a healthy way. I am healthy, mind, body, spirit. Okay. And I know how often we replay scenarios. All right. But you don't need a textbook to understand it. You've done this before. Every time you've talked yourself off the ledge, every time you've said, okay, maybe it's not as bad as I think, this is actually not that bad. I know when we go to an audition or we have some music to learn at the last minute and we're stressed, it's like, why did they send me all this stuff at the last minute? And you're just like, you know what? This is not that bad. It's kind of repetitive. The lyrics are kind of funky, but it's fine. I can get this done. Old you, I ain't got time to learn this. It's just too much. New you, we're going to use some cognitive reappraisal. Perfect. Possibility thinking is doing that on purpose, consistently, even when your brain is screaming the worst case scenario at you. All right, this is the evolution of it all. Like that break between healed you and old you. It is not about outcomes, though. Here's the thing. A lot of people get wrong. Possibility thinking is not about guaranteeing a good outcome. You might not still get the job. You might not book that show. The project may not go well. The audition may go wrong, but possibility thinking is about refusing to let fear make the decision for you before reality has even had a chance to weigh in. So, this is where the shift comes in the structure of the episodes. Why our brains are wired to expect the worst and what it costs us. All right, so meeting your negativity bias. We've talked about this before. Your brain has a built in tendency to scan for threat. Remember how the amygdala doesn't know the difference between a lion chasing you or you opening up a bill? The body just responds to that same stimuli of fear or stress or worry, okay? And this is called negativity bias. Your nervous system evolved to weigh bad experiences more heavily than good ones because of our ancestors. I know. Justin, you're reaching for this. I read The Water Dancer with my book club, okay? And it really helped to make sense of a lot of things, especially in the Black community, as it relates to curiosity, our connection to, I don't want to say the struggle, but we'll talk about it more. But there's always a fear underlying in things as it relates to our ancestors. Okay, so with our ancestors, missing a threat could mean death. Okay, but also missing a reward meant staying hungry a little longer. But let me say this: a lot of our brains are running on old operating systems. Okay, you can't walk into this new you with the old attitude, and it's no longer serving you. That old operating system can no longer protect you in this new you, and it's costing you your present. But some of us, I want to say this out loud because we don't sit with this enough. That old operating system isn't just evolutionary, okay? It's inherited. It's in the blood. It's in our bones of the family who survived. It's generational, okay? And if you're watching this, if you're listening to this, you're doing the work to rewire, to heal, to restructure some of these things so that the next line in your family is able to use cognitive reappraisal and remove some of the negativity bias so they are able to make more sound decisions. But now I want to talk about the childhood roots because for many of us, that's where a lot of this started, okay? And I know we talked about, if you grew up in a environment or a household where you weren't given the support you needed, or a lot of your rewards were based off you sacrificing a lot, and some of us didn't really have a healthy childhood. A lot of your worth was contingent on your success, and it wasn't like you didn't have the luxury of not doing something right. But for many of us, especially those healing from childhood trauma, this negativity bias was turbocharged. It was like times 10 in childhood. When home wasn't safe, when love felt conditional, when chaos was unpredictable, your nervous system learned to stay on guard, expecting the worst as pessimism, okay? You needed to see the threat coming. Even the problem is that your adult brain, okay, is still doing the job, even when there's no danger. Okay. And we weren't able, there was no time between childhood and adulthood to do a reset, like a hard reset. No, we just took that on with us with more adult responsibilities and bills and relationship drama and all that stuff. We didn't have time to unravel and just figure out who this adult version of us is going to be. You walk into a job interview and your body's responding like it did when you were 8 years old, waiting to get in trouble. Now, I want to implement this section because I mentioned The Water Dancer by Ta-Nehisi Coates. And this kind of reiterates the notion of generational roots. Okay, so my notes. And then there's what came from your childhood. So in The Water Dancer, one of the things that stayed with me was the idea of memory and forgetting as a form of survival. What does that mean? Read the book. Read the book. But that for people who were enslaved, forgetting wasn't failure. It was sometimes the only way to keep moving, to keep breathing, to keep to survive something that the mind could not fully hold and remain intact. That forgetting, that protective serving, um, from memory, from history, from the full weight of what was endured gets passed down, not as a choice, but as a nervous system inheritance. This is we talked about this in our book club, epigenetics. Epigenetics is one hell of a thing, okay? It's the science of how trauma gets passed down and it changes the gene expression across generations. And it's showing up a lot in Black families. Indigenous families and other communities of intergenerational trauma have always known their bodies. That your great grandmother survived lives in you. Sometimes in the book, back here, Break the Cycle, it talked about that and how, no, Break the Cycle and The Body Keeps the Score. How sometimes the trauma will skip a generation. It'll skip from your mom, like it'll go from your grandmom to your uncle to you, and you're just like, well, how did I get this? I don't know. It's just epigenetics, and it's something. But the where is it? So if you come from a lineage of people who had very every reason to expect the worst because the worst kept happening because systems were designed to make sure it kept happening, your nervous system is not broken. It's doing exactly what it was shaped to do across generations of real, documented, ongoing threat. Healing possibility thinking is not just personal work, it's ancestral work. And that deserves to be honored, not rushed. Okay, people go to therapy. People go to church. People go to these spaces of healing expecting to come out cleansed. And I know like people get baptized in as a form or a sacred act of washing themselves in the blood of Jesus and blah blah blah. But it's just like there's still work to be done as a Christian or as a new believer or as someone in therapy. Like you go to one therapy session, you don't come out healed. You got to unpack in order to heal. You got to pack to repack. Okay. But what it costs you every single day, when you operate from a default of negative expectation, you consciously make decisions to keep yourself small. You may not see it that way, but it's keeping you small. You don't submit the application. You don't reach out first. You don't try again. You don't do the very thing that could catapult you into that next season, that new version, the life you really desire because of the negative thinking. So we're going to talk about that. All right, because I want you to do better. Day by day, you shrink the size of your life to match the size of your fear. And for some of us, that contraction isn't just conditioned, it was rational once. The question we get to ask now is, what does it cost us to keep living as if it still has to be? Now, we're talking about how negative expectation shows up in real life. All right. So it lives in the gap between what you want and what you let yourself reach for. You know what you want. You know, you got a vision board, you got your goals written out, you know what it is you want. You wake up every day miserable because you're not living the life you deserve and the life you want. And I can say it again. I said the last episode, we get one life. Okay, so when are you going to take the action to live the life you know you deserve? You know the relationship you actually want, the work you actually want to make, the version of yourself you actually want to be. And then there's this gap, the space between that and what you actually do. You don't reach all the way. Okay, what happened to reaching for what you deserve? We stopped shooting for the stars. We just shoot for the ceiling. And I don't like that. You stop a little short, you hedge, you leave yourself an out, and you've gotten so good at doing that it doesn't even feel like fear anymore. It feels almost realistic, but realistic and realistic and resign are not the same thing. And somewhere underneath all that practicality, you know the difference. It turns other people into evidence Okay? When you're living from negative expectation, you stop seeing people as they actually are and start scanning them for proof of what you already believe. You're not in a relationship or the friendship or the collaboration. You're in the courtroom building a case. Every unanswered text, every slightly distracted conversation, every moment that isn't perfectly warm becomes data. And the verdict is always the same. See, I knew it. Okay, it's like the comparison trap that we fall in. The tragedy is that you're not wrong that people can hurt you. You're just convicting them before the trial even starts. It makes good things hard to keep. This is the one nobody talks about. Negative expectation doesn't just keep good things from coming, it makes them hard to hold on to. You're waiting for the other shoe to drop. You're waiting for someone to snatch it away from you. It's that whole mindset of this is too good to be true. It becomes the water you swim in. After a while, you stop noticing it because it's just the default. The low hum of assuming it probably won't work out, of holding back just a little, of being pleasantly surprised when things go okay instead of genuinely expecting them to. It's just like you don't care. You do the bare minimum. Okay, I'm just going to make it simple. Negative expectation rewires your brain to do the bare minimum and think you are doing enough. And sometimes, and I know we have everyone, I can speak for myself, I have a lot on my plate. But at the end of the day, I have to commit at least 30 minutes to making sure that I am making the steps to the life I know I want. So if it means staying up just a little later, just to make sure everything is organized, or I got the podcast episode ready to go, my outline is lined up, it makes sense to me, then I'll do it because I know what I want this podcast to be. Okay, so if you don't do anything else from this episode, I want you to recommit yourself to the life you want. I'm gonna do an episode about this, but I want you to recenter yourself in the middle. Okay, with God at the top and you in the center. I need you to say out loud that I am recommitting myself to the life I know I want. Okay. So let us move on to section 2, which is adjusting, learning to hold fear and hope at the same time. This is good. Okay. Noticing when your expectations are rooted in fear versus positivity. Before you can shift anything, you have to be able to catch it. Okay, it's just like basketball. The Knicks are in the NBA Finals. Okay, and before you can make a shot, you have to be able to shift your feet, shift your hands, your arm, the placement, everything. Like some people, Steph Curry, he can just throw it up there. But in most cases, you have to be able to shift anything before you're able to catch it. And the tricky thing about fear-based expectation is that they feel completely rational. They don't announce themselves as fear, they just show up as being realistic. So I want you to do the body check, okay? Before you make a decision or form an expectation about a situation, check in with your body. Now, this is a broken record, but you have to check in with your body. Like, does this feel right? Why do I feel this in my check? My shoulders starting to rise up? Is my head a little tingly? Do I got a headache? Are my feet numb? Like, do a body scan. Is my jaw clenched? Where does it show up? The origin question. I love this. Ask yourself, where have I seen this before? Okay, I know it's not me, but I've seen this before. It might not have been the same um, um, order of letters or words or stuff or phrases, but I've seen this before because often the expectation we have about current situations is actually a memory in disguise. You expect your new boss to be critical because your parent was. Okay. You expect the friendship to fall apart because that's what friendships have always done for you in your life. It's That's not information about the situation. That's information about your history. And your history is valid, but it's not a prophecy. Okay, you've lived that before, but it doesn't mean it's going to happen again. And the third thing is inherited narrative check. So this is something from Break the Cycle by Mariel Buqué. She writes about how so many of our stories we tell ourselves in moments of fear aren't actually ours. They're inherited, passed down through families, through generations, through every person who loved us and was also scared. So, when a fear based expectation rises, instead of just actually asking, is this true? Try asking, whose voice is this? Okay, because I don't think I've ever thought this before, but it makes sense. But I don't want to give too much life to this situation. Is this what you actually believe about the situation, or is this what someone taught you to believe about the situation? Is this your conclusion, or did you inherit it? Because there's a difference between a story you've written from your own experience and a story that was handed down to you based off somebody else's experience. And I think that's why people, when they gossip, I'm just saying, consider the source. Consider the source. Sometimes the people that's gossiping are the people who's really raising the hell. And we got to go, oh, okay. Let me go ask them their side of the story, okay? Because there's three sides to every story. Them, theirs, and the truth. So I don't know. But again, the inherited narrative check. Now, holding fear and hope at the same time without dismissing either. This is a skill. I ain't there yet, okay? But in therapy and reading and listening to some other podcasts and books, listen, we go get there together. This is what the whole season has been building toward. Not choosing between the two, but finding space for both. Fear and hope are not opposites. They can coexist. They can live in the same space, okay? In fact, the most meaningful things we ever do in our lives, having a child, starting a business, loving someone after we've been broken, all of them evolve from both all of them involve both fear and hope living in the same moment. You don't have to resolve the fear before you can feel the hope. You don't have to be healed to be loved. No, you just have to make room. Here's a new thing: the even if, even so framework. So here's a simple language shift that can help. Instead of, I hope this works out, okay, that which can feel naive, or I'm afraid this will fall apart, okay, which could feel like a prophecy. Try, even if this is hard, even so, I am choosing to show up. Or even if I don't know how it ends, even so, I believe I can handle what comes. My God, isn't that powerful? This is not denial. This is radical, deliberate resilience. The second thing, validate the fear first. When are you talking about? Validate it first. It's just like an order of operations. Okay, when it comes to math, you got to do it. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Validate the fear first. Here's a counterintuitive piece. If you want to make room for possibility, you have to fully acknowledge the fear. Not manage it, not minimize it, not compartmentalize it, but acknowledge it. I am scared. I am scared. This makes complete sense given what I've been through, and I'm still choosing to try. Okay? That and is everything. Not but and. Okay, that simple connecting word allows your nervous system to go, we got this. Okay, it allows God to see that you are trusting Him to do it again. That is the difference between bypassing your emotions and interrogating them. Now, how shifting your expectations changes the way you show up. 3 quick points. You start making decisions from a different place. When you're operating from fear-based expectations, you make preemptive decisions. You pull away before you even try. Okay? But when you shift even slightly toward possibility, you start making decisions that are about what you actually want rather than what you're trying to avoid. Second thing, your relationships change. Okay, you really start to value the people you are around. And I know some people want closure, but sometimes silence is the closure we need. I have let a lot of friendships go. And I didn't even say I'm ending this because I think that's childish. But I think simply just letting them land where they lie, or land where they may, whatever the phrase is, that's fine. Because some people are stuck. Or some people only know the old you and not the heal you, and they think the heal you is you acting funny. No, I'm acting like the person I know I should, because because you didn't think enough to help me change, because you're fine with this damaged version of me. I'm ranting, sorry. When you stop expecting people to hurt you, you stop treating them like they've already did. You ask for what you need. You give people the benefit of the doubt. You stay a little longer or a little softer. Some people will surprise you, some won't. But at least you gave yourself and them an actual chance, and then you leave. Don't stay in situations that are not going to help you grow. And that goes with friendships and jobs. Okay, because I know there is a seed in all of us that is waiting to just sprout and grow. And if your friends are not sowing into you, they're draining you and they're choking you. All right. And then the last thing, your creative work changes. You start finishing things. You start sharing things with the masses. You start creating more. You have more dopamine and more headspace to actually just exist. You see things differently. Okay, you're not operating in fear, you're operating in faith. Colors look different. Like, there is just so much that happens. You stop editing yourself before you begin. You put it out there. The essays, the business plans, the songs, the application, because you believe it might land somewhere. And even when it doesn't, the act of trying becomes evidence that you can. So keep trying, keep doing it, okay? So, the last part of this episode, we're talking about applying. Here are 5 things to consider as you start asking yourself, what if it all works out? Now, I'm going to go slow with this, okay? Because these are some good things to consider. So, number 1, what if your brain's worst case version of you is outdated? I know. The version of you that couldn't handle things, the one who got hurt, the one who fell apart, the one who didn't know how to protect yourself, that was real. Honor that. We're acknowledging that that was real. Keyword was. But that was also then. This is now. Ooh, catch it. You have survived things that would have stopped other people. You have learned things you didn't know before. You have done the work. Give yourself credit for the work you've done. Listening to this podcast is doing the work. And the brain that expects the worst hasn't caught up to the person you've become. What if you are more capable than your fear remembers? What if the evidence for who you are now is stronger than the evidence your nervous system keeps presenting? Consider that. Number 2, what if hoping for good things isn't dangerous? It's just uncomfortable. Yeah. For a lot of us, especially those of us who hoped for things as children and were disappointed in devastating ways, hope itself feels like a setup. Like the moment you let yourself want something good, the universe is going to snatch it away. So you learn to just stay low, stay guarded, lower your expectations, don't ask for too much, okay? Don't want too much. I want to ask you something gently. What if the story was a survival strategy? Okay. Not a universal law. What if hope isn't actually dangerous? It just feels that way because of what happened when you were too young to protect yourself. You're not that young anymore. My friend had to remind me, you're saying a lot of stuff that happened in your childhood. You're an adult now. What are you going to do about it? Don't call me out. But for real, you get to decide and deliberate whether to want good things. And I think you should want good things. I think today will be the day that you want good things. Number 3, what if you let the good things actually land? What if? Sometimes things do work out. and we can't even feel it because we're so conditioned to wait for the other shoe to drop. The relationship is going well, and you spend the whole time waiting for it to fall apart. The job is you are thriving, okay? They're asking you to do a presentation here, you're going on a company trip here, you're doing this, and you're just waiting for that one slip up to come, that one write up. Like, let me speak to you in my office. Like, you're waiting for things to fall apart. Let the good things land. Let them get a chance to marinate and for their roots to grow in your mind, in your nervous system, okay? The moment you've been working toward arrives and you're already somewhere else bracing. Possibility thinking isn't just about imagining good things happening, it's about actually receiving them when they do. So this week, I want you to practice letting one good thing fully land, not moving from it, but let it land, not qualifying it, just letting it be true. Fully for a moment. That's the practice. Number 4, what if your story isn't over? The rest is still unwritten. You don't know the ending yet, okay? And I really think this is something to hold on to. And here's what Dr. Mariel said in her book. The idea that your healing doesn't just move forward into your future, it moves backwards too. When you choose possibility over protection, when you decide to live differently than the fear that was handed to you, you're doing something for the people who came before you who never got the chance. You are completing something. You are not just writing your next chapter. You are, in some ways, rewriting theirs. Okay, a lot of books have different editions, and a lot of editions have some rewrites. All right. Think of the changes and the healing you're doing as a new forward to the story that went even in there. Okay, that was all here. That was all here. Think of the things you are doing now as a new forward in the book that they wrote. You'll get that later. Okay, number 5, the last thing. What if you trusted yourself to handle whatever comes? All right. Here's the thing about fear of the future. It's rarely really about the future. It's about not trusting yourself in the moment now, okay? Whatever the future is bringing, I get it. I get it. The hard things happened before and you felt you couldn't handle them. It makes sense that you're afraid you're afraid of more hard things. But here's what I want you to look at. You did handle them. Okay, you're here. You're alive. You handled this. It might have altered you a little bit, but you're still here to tell it. Okay, and if it happened again, you would know how to handle it. You're sitting here. You made it through every single hard thing in your brain that your brain said you would destroy you. You didn't do it perfectly. Like I said, you didn't do it without scars, but you did it. And when you start to trust yourself, like really trust yourself, something else happens to you. The people coming after you, they get to inherit something different. Not the hypervigilance, okay? Not the bracing, not the quiet contradiction. They get to inherit a nervous system that learned in one lifetime to stay open. Dr. Buqué calls this intergenerational healing. We talk so much about intergenerational trauma, but intergenerational healing, the idea that the work you do on yourself creates a ripple that moves in both directions across your family line. You're not just healing yourself, friend, okay? You are healing for the child you were and for the children, biological or not, who will be shaped by how you choose to live. No pressure. No pressure. That's legacy. Okay, that's a promise. That's a responsibility to yourself, to God, and that's a responsibility to the purpose. Okay, we have multiple purposes. I don't want to talk too much about that. So, as we close, we did it. We actually did it. We have made it to the end of this episode. And I'm really hoping that you are able to sit with this discomfort, sit with fear a little more, and allow your positive reframing, your cognitive reappraisal to really run rampant. Look at your friends, look at your community, look at yourself in the mirror. okay? And say, today we are going to live in the good, okay? We're going to let the good land. And until next time, keep adjusting. Bye-bye. Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode. I hope you take something away to help you make the adjustments you need. Before you go, please take a quick second to share this with someone you care about. And if you can, please leave a 5-star rating and review on whatever platform you're listening to this on. For more information about adjusting or to inquire about being a guest, head over to adjustingpod.com. Until next time.